So how did it all start? Where did the idea originally come from?
Oh, you want the story?
The story.
My background, I was a national account manager for a large multinational FMCG organisation, a food manufacturer. And I was living in London. I'm going back about 22 years ago now. So I was living in London at the time as a younger man. And I was very happy with my career, sort of the fast pace of it all. I'm very happy living in London as a younger man and very busy. But I was terrible at paying my bills on time. It was one of those things that didn't particularly interest me. I thought, I'll do it tomorrow. And ultimately thought, well, no, there must be a service out there that I could outsource that element of my life to. So I wouldn't have to worry about paying bills on time, all of those sort of things, and people could get me the best utility deals and what have you. Outsourcing to an organisation that could do all the stuff around daily money management that we know we should all do, but most people actually don't in the real world. So I looked to solve that problem by outsourcing, and I couldn't find an organisation in the UK that had a service like that. The only organisation I could find in the world was a charity in the States called MyVesta. And I found them on the internet, and I remember looking at their website, and they had a product called All Paid. And I remember the strapline, it was All Paid, the smart money management service for busy professionals. And I thought, that's exactly what I'm after. I got in touch with the company. In fact, it was the CEO, a chap called Steve Rode. What a fantastic idea. I'm looking for the same sort of service in the UK. And long story short, he invited me to come over to the States. And I actually stayed with him and his family for, I think it was about 4 or 5 days. And he took me behind the scenes in terms of the organisation that he developed and the service and the software they developed. And long story short, we introduced the first money management service for busy professionals way back when. So that's how I got involved with starting a money management service, initially for busy professionals. But the idea for Money Carer came as a result of a meeting I had with Warrington Borough Council, again about 15 years ago or so, because the organisation was based in Warrington, the first organisation we started. And Warrington Council got in touch with us and said, we've heard about your money management service, and they had a problem with tenants paying their rent from their housing stock with poor money management skills. And so I think there's two things. They wanted to see whether we could assist the tenants with everyday money management skills and helping with improving that lack of skills for some of their tenants. And also they wanted to get the rent paid. I think pragmatically they were having difficulties there. So I was asked to go along and present what we do as an organisation to some of their teams there. And in the meeting, there was a chap from the council's appointeeship team. And at the very end of the meeting, he came and had a word with him. He said, have you ever thought about acting as an appointee? And at which point I said, no, what's that? I didn't know what an appointee was. And he explained it was an organisation or an individual that takes on the legal role bestowed onto them by the Department of Work and Pensions to manage someone's welfare benefit payments, pay the bills, and generally, obviously act in the best interest. So I said I would get back to him after doing a bit more research and what have you. And long story short, we decided to launch a pilot in a very small piece, so to speak, to test the water. I remember meeting with Age Concern, as it was then called, in Ellesmere Port. I think I met with Lancashire County Council, some of the potential stakeholders, and said, well, what do you think about this idea? And pretty much everyone said, no, we really struggle with finding these services. Lots of vulnerable people are, to some extent thrown to the wolves if they haven't got someone overseeing the finances. So we had a very good batch of feedback around, yes, it was a service that would clearly have value. We ended up launching the service in conjunction with a friend of mine who just started his own law firm as a legal service. We thought the best way to present the service back then was using our bill payment expertise and the software that we developed at the time in conjunction with a legal service offering. Problem with that is we had to charge, back then it was about £90 a month, something like that, to make it wash its face commercially under a law firm, so to speak. So we took on clients, but we got quite a lukewarm response, and we were like, well, what's the problem here? When we were talking to the stakeholders, and it became clear it was the price, but it was also, I think way back then, it was also how a new service for vulnerable adults was perceived being delivered by a law firm. I think it's all very different now, and sort of deputyships are very much available from law firms. But back then it was quite a new concept, and we got a lukewarm response. So I was very much wedded to the idea. I thought this is a really good thing to do. I wanted to make it happen. So the abridged version is I launched as a social enterprise, which enabled us to really look at our cost base in a very different way than a law firm. And we more than halved the fees at the time, which removed the issues about affordability and availability and funding from local authorities as well. And we haven't looked back since. That was coming to sort of 15 years ago. But that's how it all came about. It started as a bill payment service, predominantly for busy professionals, and it evolved into a money management service for vulnerable adults.
If you have a question you would like to raise for a future Money Carer podcast, or if you have any comments on anything you've heard today, then do please get in touch with us at info@moneycarer.org.uk. Thanks for listening.